Oh, jeez. Oh, shit. Look out there now. It's back at it again. Oh, I have that.
Yeah, sorry.
All back.
I did do some copying today.
Good.
We're ready? Well, we got to wait for.
Usually Greg's the only one who needs it.
Yeah, it's true.
But now he's not here.
Do we just want to just go down the line with the questions? We need to.
We need to open the.
Okay. Are we ready? All right, let's call our regular meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can I get a roll call?
Trustee St. Germain. Here. Trustee Earps.
Here.
Trustee Daniels.
Here.
Trustee Craig.
Here.
All right, let's stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Can I get a motion for approval of the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right. I don't believe we have any public comment tonight. Is that correct?
We have none.
All right. Next up, our Zone 1 trustee vacancy. Teresa, would you like to come and take the hot seat?
We got 65 questions coming your way.
So
Little button there.
Yep.
Yeah, just push the, so
Okay.
it's red.
I just wanted to make sure you guys understand those are just sample questions. You don't have to do all of them. Those are just some guidelines. So you can ask as many and she's been studying. So
You didn't know there was gonna be a test, huh?
she didn't know.
All right. Well, let's start out. Why don't you just tell us about yourself, about any old thing? Just tell us about
Okay.
yourself.
So my name is Teresa Kepke. I grew up in headquarters, born and raised there. I'm a product of Joint School District number 171. I graduated from Timberline. I think I have some sort of affiliation with most of you. Brian, I'm not sure about unless you work at the prison.
I do.
Then you would know my brother and sister-in-law, Jeff and Amy Anderson. So,
Fantastic.
so have a bit of a connection to everybody here. I worked at Wells Fargo for 29 years in different capacities. I did branch management, mortgage loans, underwriting. So I learned a lot about different businesses within that role. And now I've been working for the city of Pierce since October of last year, or 2022. So a little over a year. So now I'm learning kind of government roles and that sort of thing. So that's
All right.
So you start with number one.
Go ahead.
So why do you want to be a board member?
Well, I was kind of approached about being a board member, but I think,
Is that by Greg? Oh,
yeah, so Greg's very persuasive. He called me out of the blue for the job I'm in. So,
that's correct.
yeah, so, I just think, it looks like a great organization, to be a part of, to give back to the community, be part of the community. I like learning new things and, I have a lot of, different experience and backgrounds that maybe would bring a different perspective to what you guys, I mean, you're talking about goals and objectives, with Wells Fargo, it was a lot of team member development and coaching. So, when you set goals, they need to be SMART. Everything was acronyms, which it sounds like there's a lot of acronyms here, but, specific, measurable, attainable, and realistic and a timetable. So I have a lot of background in that, might be useful. I don't know. So.
Who's next? Anybody? You got anything?
I think we better just go in order. We don't get every question, but
Yeah.
think she'll be great.
I would ask, any board experience, doing something different
As far as.
as a board member for anybody else?
No, I've been on a lot of different committees, nonprofit agencies, and now with the council as part of the city of Pierce. I'm not part of the council, but I'm learned those roles there, so.
I don't know if this is on here or not, but would you be able to like travel to Boise and whatnot for trainings?
Yeah.
And that type of
Yeah,
stuff? That
my,
would be-
you know, especially where Greg was a board member,
Yeah,
you
he
know, it's
understands.
pretty, yeah, the job's pretty flexible.
Do you have like a
in some way.
retired husband who needs a babysitter or anything like I do?
I'd like to, my husband would like to be retired. Yeah.
All righty. Does anybody have anything else?
Well, I would just say, you know, the people vote us in. And obviously we didn't get anybody to sign up this go round. You're from that area. I can work with anybody and
So I do have several friends that are teachers at Timberline and
good.
they were excited at the prospect of me serving, so.
Cool. I
You
just,
know, oh, I'm sorry.
no, that's, I just like the fact that we got somebody from up there to.
Yeah.
To,
That
to
and,
represent.
you know, I don't speak for everybody, but I know as a board, our goal is to do the right thing for the students and our
Mhm.
teachers. We're not perfect by any means, but we can always use an extra hand. A different perspective is always good.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us are really super like-minded, which is good, but I think we do a good job at communicating with each other and being
Yeah.
fair and resilient in the face of struggles. So,
yeah, we have a lot of adversity on
Yeah.
our board, which is kind of a cool aspect of this is that we all come from sort of different backgrounds.
Yeah.
I mean, Brian, we have similar,
Yeah,
but different. I mean, just by nature, everything that we do. So it's a lot of differences. So that's good. That's
Yeah,
a good
that's
thing
good.
though, because
Good.
if you get, 5 nurses
mm-hmm,
on the board, it's not going to be great. So.
right.
and if Greg recommended her, then
So
I
I
doesn't like Greg.
do you mind? if- yeah.
Since he quit. No offense against you. but-
So my input is, so I had talked to Greg multiple times about trying to find somebody to replace him, so as mayor, I had stopped by the Pierce City Hall a couple times and she had inadvertently been there and we got to talking a little bit and, I don't know if I just kind of turned and said, are you interested? And she's, I don't know. Well, then I stopped in again and she was a little bit more interested. And then next thing, the third time I talked to her, we had a really good conversation. And my input is the conversation I've had with her, and actually she wanted to meet a little bit before this to kind of prep herself a little bit. She's been asking all the right questions as far as I'm concerned to play a significant role in the board as a member and not having a preconceived biased opinion, whatever it might be. She's very open to learning and all that. And I've been very pleased with her at this point. So that's my 2 cents for what it's worth. I don't have a vote, but
All right.
Do you have any questions for us?
Not really. I mean, I enjoyed listening to the work session and I think there's probably a lot to learn and I'm up for that. So.
There's definitely a learning curve.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. Yeah, there's most definitely
Mhm.
one that I don't think you're going to have a huge problem. And that's the thing too. You can always ask one of us
Yeah.
if,
And I figured Greg would be a good resource as well. And,
Mhm,
I
mhm.
spend quite a few days with him. So,
yeah,
And we have a Carmen.
yeah.
yeah, we have Carmen. And I'm free most of the time during the day. My job, I'm very, very blessed in that my job allows me a lot of flexibility time wise, and I can take calls most of
Okay,
the time, unless I'm
yeah.
in court or on a Zoom, I can take calls and,
Okay.
and whatnot. So, yeah. No, and I like headquarters too. So yeah, so
that's good to know, Christine. Next time I call you and you say you can't take it. Yeah, I
As long
know,
as you call
exactly. I understand now.
That's great.
I got it. Yes.
you can. But anyway,
And-
I like to have fun. That's the main thing. If I
Yeah.
can't have fun at doing something, I don't want to do it. So
Exactly.
I do try to, I have kind of a sick and warped sense of humor sometimes. but I try to keep things, but because we need to enjoy it.
Yeah.
too. It's not going to be, we don't want it to be something for you where feels like you're going to have,
Yeah.
birth or something,
Yeah.
where it's. So anyway.
And
She definitely
point of
keeps us
order, this would
laughing.
be for the duration of that
Yes.
The term.
term, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so
And
this will
you're-
be for 4 years.
Right.
And you're all on board with that and
Yep.
committed to that.
My hair used to be black.
I had hair.
Yeah.
Mine- mine
Mine
used
was
to be
black.
blue.
Mine is black. Yeah. But no.
So yeah, this term will run from January 1st of 24 to 28, end of 20,
The three of us are in the
Yeah.
same cycle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. correct.
All right, if nobody has anything else, can I get a motion?
I'll move that we bring Teresa Kepke on as the Zone 1 board member for the remainder of the term.
That would be under our action items.
Yeah, I was gonna do
Point of
that.
order, I think we gotta wait.
No,
for
we're gonna
action
do that
items.
one now.
Oh, yeah.
It's labeled as an action item
Is
It's
it?
under- yeah.
Yes, on the agenda.
It's on there twice. No?
Mm.
No, I guess it's not.
No, we're gonna do it as an action item.
All right, let's go ahead and do it again.
I'll just second yours. How about that?
I didn't hear the first one.
I move that we welcome Teresa Kepke as Zone 1 board member for the remainder of the current term.
And I second.
Any more discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Welcome, Teresa.
Thank you.
Yay. So for the rest of the meeting, you're officially a board member. See, that's why we wanted an action item. So there was a method to the madness.
Hey,
I wish we could always do that.
yeah, I think we're on, what are we coming up on year 2? We're gonna get this figured out.
I know, it's confusing when we have to.
Forget Jennifer.
Yeah, I'll go back. Did you guys? I'd go more.
You have to take a blood oath now and a. All right. So moving on, so we're not here till midnight. Approval of the minutes from the January 22nd, 2024 regular meeting. Can I get a motion?
Make a motion that we accept the January 2022 regular meeting minutes as presented.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries with 5. Yay. All right. Next consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
Make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second it.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd want to.
Go ahead.
I'm pulling it up. So on 41,500, the unassigned, the $180,000 difference.
What document are you?
Under, I'm sorry, I meant to tell you that before I pulled it up. It's under budget.
Okay.
I gotta get back to it.
45 what?
First page.
Was it first page?
Only goes to
Yeah, it says 41,500 says under earnings investment.
Oh.
Unassigned 10,000, 10,000, 32,000, 190. Difference of this 180, 222.
Nope. The unassigned.
Yeah. I know there's a reason for it, but
What is it?
it's just the
it says earnings on an
Original
Um,
budget.
rest of
Yep, monthly.
So if it's in a,
So, oh, you got it? Okay.
earnings on, oh, okay, so earnings on,
Here, go for it.
right, earnings on investments, so this
There's
is
a
the
mic right up there.
interest that I would have predicted, which we have no idea what that's gonna be, so as we, right now, the money we have sitting out on our LGIP account, we're gaining more interest this year than was anticipated. Actually, it's quite high this year, so. That's, so you can see at the top where it says like original budget, revised budget, and then the actual activity. So it's putting it into a negative because we've actually gained more than what was originally budgeted.
Right, the 190,
Mhm.
and that's all interest on that account? Do you do
Or we're-
financial planning on the side? by chance?
Our interest is, I think it's been over 4% this year.
Nice.
It's been way higher.
Thank you.
All right.
That was the only question that I had.
Fair enough.
on the
Did you have a
consent agenda.
question, Chris?
I looked at this yesterday, and I just, so in the salary piece on expenditures, we're at 41.7% and 45% on fringe. Is that where we should be at this point in time?
Are you looking at
Seems-
this document?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I like the
On the-
budget balance sheet. It's the summary. Those little numbers drive me nuts. Teresa's
Yeah.
gonna be great for that. I just wondered, at 41 and 45% around fringe, are we 40% into the year? Cause
Yeah.
it seems like we're not.
Are you looking at this right
we're
here?
Not 40, uh-huh.
So this is general fund money, not
Yeah.
all the other funds. So if you're looking at, you're just asking about the percentage.
Nice.
Yeah, that's right here.
How we're tracking
It's a little
based
bit-
on,
Different because our salaries and benefits are prorated more over the 12-month that goes into August.
So we have some employees that their salary and benefits start in July and then others start in September. It just depends on their contract start date. So there's not a real clear answer to that, what the exact percentage is because of the different start times. But I would say probably as a blended number, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Okay, and the reason my question and my concern is because we're being told we're gonna have less money. And so if we're over.
Right.
We're not 40% through the year yet. And so if we're over 40% of what we're expending for our staff, then we have a bigger problem than what we thought.
Well, I mean, the fiscal year starts July 1.
So we are.
Mhm.
so that we
Okay.
are.
So January 1 basically was 50% through. the
But like I
fiscal year.
said, not every employee starts, their
Right.
contract doesn't start. It's quite a process how we have to set up employee contracts and I'd be happy to explain it maybe in a different, offline, but yeah, so some of them run July 1 to June 30 and others run September 1 to October or August 31st.
Yeah.
So
that's-
if we're beyond 50% and we're only expended at 42 to 45%, then that's when we need to consider the additional 50% and the all other funding?
No,
No, you have salary savings built into there then, because we're not fully staffed.
but you're also looking at the majority of those general fund ones will be through September
Right.
1.
Mhm.
So we are about 40% through.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So
That's my question.
the majority of the folks are, yes, you're looking at on that
It's a
fund.
blended number, so that's why it's
Okay.
not a real clear cut answer.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Vera.
Thank you.
Any more questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. All right, moving on to reports and recognitions. Okay. So first up, I'm going to talk about the Day on the Hill that Dr. Garrett and I attended. It's a yearly event where we go down and talk about legislative issues. In a perfect world, we meet with our actual representatives, but that hasn't happened that's a challenge. That's a challenge. But the good news is that even though we may not have audiences with our representatives, we do have the ear of some of the people on the education committee, namely the people that
are the chair and the vice chair of the education committee. So that's good. And they are more than willing to talk to us. And I just got to say this just because it kind of made my hair curl, or more than it already is. But we were the butt of some jokes down there based on the behavior of Heather Scott in introducing the bill against cannibalism. Not talking cannabis, it's cannibal. She introduced a bill that would outlaw cannibalism and human composting, and it was a big joke. People thought it was a big joke, and we had people asking us questions like, what do you guys feed them for hot lunch up there, and things like that. So it was kind of, which, I get it, but it kind of leaves you with a not real good taste. It's just, so to speak, that was bad. That was an accident, but yeah, but it wasn't very comfortable. And I guess, it is what it is. But if you know, you know. And so we did get some good conversations. We did have a meeting with Lori McCann, a guy from the governor's office, and a guy from JFAC, representative from there. We got to have a little meeting with them, and they talked about the facilities bill and some of the real ins and outs of it. So that was really, really educational. We also sat in on the revenue and taxation, where they talked about the facility bill once again and the ins and outs and that. And there are some questions with that. There are some things that are roaming around down in the legislature that, it's the library bill is still a thing. It failed. And from what I understand, it didn't fail because it was too far right. It failed because it wasn't strict enough. They redid it and reintroduced some things, and it was different. So it failed. There's also one about guns in schools. And I don't know if you're all aware of that. And it's basically anybody who has an enhanced carry can carry, period. Whether that's a teacher or an 18-year-old student. Because the Second Amendment, which I get that. I support the Second Amendment as much as anybody else does, but I have a real problem with that. And so do a lot of other people. They're getting some resistance from the Association of Police Chiefs, the Sheriff's Association, the Association of School Resource Officers, and that because the policy needs to be set by the district on how that's going to look. And Second Amendment rights state that, well, no, it doesn't matter. And so there's some real significant sides to it, and where it's going to go, I don't know, but it would be nice if they would allow us to set some parameters on training and what's necessary to actually do it if they're going to allow it. So we'll see what happens. That's going to be an interesting one to track. I would suggest, if you're curious about where these things are going, the Idaho Ed News, they have a website and they do a fantastic bill tracker where they track all the bills and it's awesome. They print them all out with questions, with the common questions and all that stuff. So it's real easy to follow. I don't know.
You're talking about the ISBA.
Yeah, ISBA.
You said
Well, it's
that-
Idaho Ed News.
Yeah.
No, Idaho Ed News
Yeah.
publishes
think
it too.
they came from
ISBA.
ISBA.
Yeah, ISBA has the link
Yep.
to it. Idaho Ed News too, if you're subscribed to that, has it as well. Yeah, so there's also a bill that would mandate training for all new school board members in Idaho, which isn't a bad thing. That's probably a good thing. So that one's probably going to pass without too much problem. What other ones am I missing? Trying to think of what else. With a lot of information in a pretty short period of time. So, there's also, you may have read, if you follow any of this, about supplemental funding. It's House Bill 1. It's with the revision back of the ADA last year. 161 million was held back from the schools. It was a holdback. Okay, so we didn't get all our money, and people are calling it a supplemental, and there's a reason why they have to call it a supplemental, but it really isn't. It's a holdback. So basically what that is we're just getting the rest of our money. So, which is a good thing.
It's
Uh,
about $600,000 for
Yeah.
The general fund?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was appropriated last year and we budgeted and we did everything
We did.
according to them based on enrollment.
Yeah.
And then around
So it's in
August,
the
July,
fund.
yeah, they flipped back to ADA. So all that money was appropriated, but then
We
it's
didn't
not
get it.
being dispersed
Yeah.
because of ADA.
Yeah, and it's not a supplemental,
Yeah.
it's just a holdback. So
Yeah.
there is some argument going on about the wording in that. The facilities bill, we've kind of already talked about that. Enough, and yeah, the gun bill, library bill, it didn't pass, the gun bill. Who knows what's gonna go on with that? It's hard to say, but we need to have local control over.
Yeah.
Over that
So
yeah,
a couple things, side notes, that facility bill, we already talked about that a little bit. We lose,
yeah,
they're taking out those 3 areas of funding for us, but they're also looking, it has the August election date removed from it.
that's
So
right.
we'd only be able to do an election in May and November. What else?
school
was it?
days versus.
So if you're a 5-day school week, they won't allow you to go to 4 days if you want to receive the money. But if you're 4-day, they're trying to put stipulations on the number of days. So we haven't heard the numbers yet. Been a lot of discussion about that. What it says in the bill is it will be up to the State Board of Education. So when I talked to Debbie Critchfield, she said that they were going to try to take care of that in March and have an answer in April. It says in the bill, we'll know by August 1. So when we go to talking about a calendar tonight, it may change. I asked them if they knew what the average day, what they're talking about right now, we currently go by hours. So 990 for high school and then on down as you go into elementary, and there's different levels there. So they're looking at can't change that into days and doing away with the hours. We'll see where that goes. I don't know exactly how they're going to do that, but we go 148 this year at the high schools and 146 at the elementary due to our conferences. Next year will be 146 if this calendar goes through across the district. The number they talked a lot about was 145. But what they're really getting down to is, from what I'm seeing, is they're really concerned about teacher contract days. What's happened across the state is people are going to 4 days. They're changing their teacher contracts to a shorter amount of time. So when they're funding an FTE for a certified staff, they're looking at funding a X number of dollars that can change from somebody on a daily rate of pay for a 174-day contract versus a 160-day contract. Makes sense. So they're looking at that, trying to figure out what that minimum is. So when they put the minimum number of days, they're talking about a minimum number of contract days as well. So we'll see where that lands. I don't know what they're going to do with that. So.
Yeah, it's another one of those things that's tucked away into that bill that.
Yeah.
There's just a lot to unpack with that. If you get a chance, go read the language on that, because
37 pages or something, isn't
it's
it?
long, but there's a lot
There's a lot in it.
to it. Yeah, too much to it.
So really a lot of big conversation about funding as far as, going back to, they're not going to go back to enrollment. The governor's already said that he's not going to do that. So they're trying to figure out ways around the ADA to help support students with higher dollar figures attached. So the State Department is proposing, and the state board's going to do this as well, proposing a rule that will allow additional funding for, say, a student with an IEP that's got a special needs or whatever, or even an an English language learner. So those dollar figures would go straight through to the student, to the school for the students. So when we look at some of the populations of these different schools, if you end up, and I think right now they said like students with IEPs would be an additional $1,900 per student. And then you can stack all those. If they're IEP, that they're also an ELL, all those things can add up.
Teresa, ADA is average daily attendance.
Yep.
So it's not, but number of enrolled kids. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to ask if you don't, yeah,
And
sorry.
then that IEP is the individual education plan.
Yeah.
And that's for students that need a little bit of extra guidance or help.
Mhm.
And then the ELL.
English
English
language
language
learner.
learners.
Yep. So if you stack those, you end up with more dollars for those students in addition to what we would get normally for the kids. So they're trying to backdoor the enrollment, and I think it's effective. I think it's something that will be helpful. I'm not sure it'll solve the concern or the funding issue, but I think it'll be helpful. So hopefully that will go through. And it sounds like the state has got a pretty good hold on that. And I think they'll get that funding piece done.
Yeah.
So just a little additional information.
lot there, a lot there,
Mhm.
so. That's all I have on
What,
that.
was it fun, Chris?
Not really.
They make us
No.
all want to go next year.
No, not, this year really was frustrating.
That was the
I have to
word.
say it, it was frustrating.
That was the
It
word
was ex-
everybody said.
It
Frustrating.
was, it was frustrating. Yeah, everybody was feeling the pain because there was just so much that was being presented and so much to do. And then instead of, one thing I didn't like was they have like the education committee and some of these things. Well, the education committee just so happens, since we're all there, they weren't talking about anything important. You know, by design. So we had to skip around, and he did a little detective work and found the taxation and revenue and taxation was where they were talking about the facility bill. So we went to that
Well,
instead.
they couldn't get people to pick it up, to take it to the floor
Yeah.
on the committee. So they go around and find somebody who will,
That
and then
will
they'll try to
take it.
figure out how to get it
Yeah.
through. So you got to pay attention for sure.
Yeah, there's just a lot of that kind of stuff. And it feels kind of like a dog and pony show rather than nuts and bolts. So let's get down to business kind of thing. So hopefully they'll they wanted feedback. I got an email. They wanted feedback. I gave it.
I did too.
I gave it to 'em. Because, you know, it's, you have to go down there with the attitude of you're seeing the good, the bad and the ugly. You know, some of it is, and if they're arguing on the floor, great. We weren't even, last year, we got to go actually into the
Yeah.
chambers,
Legislative session. Yeah.
legislative session and listen. But yeah, they just did the education committee, and there was a guy that was advertising a company that did AI, which, like,
Yeah.
what is he trying to get a law passed that we have to buy his product?
Mhm. Yeah. It
Ridiculous.
was a little bizarre.
Yeah, it was. So they just kind of created something for us, which, all right, whatever. So you kind of just have to unpack it and figure out what's what. And you talk to me. There's a lot of good networking time that goes on, though, which is good. You talk to a lot of different people from a lot of different places. And one thing I did notice is a lot of the challenges and a lot of the things that we have going on, other places have going on too. We are not alone.
Right.
And the rural schools as a whole, I think, feel very underrepresented. Because we talk about resources and mental health, and resources for mental health treatment has been a huge passion project of mine for not just the schools, but for the community and the whole bit. That's kind of in my wheelhouse. It's frustrating because when you hear somebody from West Ada say, well, we don't have resources either.
Mhm.
Like, oh yeah. Yeah, really? You don't know what it's like not to have resources. So, you know, and the rural schools are always going, yeah, amen, sister. I hear you. Yeah, we're doing the same thing.
I think the words, the final words I would have with it is, continue to hound our legislative
Exactly.
folks, because, and not just us, the rural areas, because there isn't as big a voice out there as there is for the,
No,
the
and
bigger
I
areas,
think
so.
we really do have to look at it and how can we be heard? And it isn't, and sadly, it isn't necessarily with our elected representatives. It's with other people that actually give a darn about what's going on and will listen. And that's the one thing, unfortunately, that I think this year taught me was, you know what? If you can't get it through one, go to somebody else. And we do have some people that are more than willing to anytime listen to what we have to say. And it's like, here's my card. If you guys need anything, call me. Kind of a relationship, which is great. Unfortunately, they're not our reps. So at any rate, keep calling them, keep hounding them. I'm not done. I've asked them through email. I've asked them on the phone. I've asked them personally to come see our school, see what we have going on, and look at some of these things. Crickets, haven't heard from any of them, but such is life. So anyway, all right, moving on to our recognitions real quick here. Russell, congratulations on being the State Tech Director of the Year. I guess, is that the right wording?
You call the man.
Yeah, good job on that. We also have Nicole Falk, who got the Helen Pouch Memorial Award from the Daughters of the American Revolution for a 3D printer for her classroom. So that was great. Jen Leachman from OHS, she got the Idaho School Lottery Hero Award. And did I read that right? They just gave her a lottery ticket? A certificate and a lottery ticket, really? I hope she, yeah. I read that and I read it twice because I thought, really? That's kind of lame. Yeah. It could have been. I guess that's the point, I suppose. Yeah. I'd be telling everybody I won $10,000. But anyway, okay. Dee Jenkins, she was nominated in the top 5 elementary teachers for the Best in the Northwest Awards, which that's kind of a big deal. That reaches a lot of people. So that's cool too. John Kelly from IDYCA. He's connecting with the cadets and he's providing additional academic support for them along the way. So great. We just have a lot of really cool things. Roy and the crew, they worked hard during the freeze and they helped clean up the mess that we had in the district office and that. And as usual, they always do a fantastic job and we're glad we have them. Chelsea Lee, Alexis Block, Tasha Dover, Susan Cunnington, Clarissa Beauregard for doing the Tier 1 PBS training for all staff, which that was good job. I think that's about it. And it's another successful month.
Yeah.
The what?
The grant. Yeah, the grant.
Oh, the grant. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I
Come on.
forgot about that. That's new. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes, Timberline did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean,
300 and some thousand.
Yeah,
That's
so.
real. That's huge.
that's awesome.
So not only do we've got two things going, so that's double the
Trouble.
trouble. Yeah, well, double the
Summer.
possibility of the unexpected.
Yeah.
Cost
Good
too,
stuff.
so that's great.
Well, and what I understand about those is that those grants are to build the facility, the infrastructure, and then we have so much time to build curriculum to utilize that stuff. And then, right, but in whole, those pots of money are to bring the stuff to you, and then we build the curriculum, and after a certain number of years, then there's a potential for ongoing curricular support. Is what I learned at the association.
Yours is equipment
Okay.
and building, right? Okay. Awesome.
Just to bolster that
Yeah.
particular
Which
program.
is nice.
To
Right.
basically add support it to it. Yep.
Okay, I hadn't seen anything on it,
Yeah,
so.
and you've already got somebody developing your curriculum for yours, right?
It's already built, and so it's an
Yeah.
expansion of the curriculum and then applying, because I've updated the state that we're doing our master schedule this next year, and then we'll do the full pathway application the year after.
That's what you're thinking. I was.
Which we already
Yeah.
have the 3 other pathways, but for this specific pathway, we'd get the funding. Yes, it's the funding after that.
Nice.
Okay.
So,
All right.
progress.
Right,
Cool.
yes, yeah, I understood that, yeah.
Everybody's doing awesome stuff, man. All
So
right.
what is the, can you tell us more about what you have then? Cause at the association meeting last fall, I was able to learn what we got. And it's in association with the timber. So what was Timberline?
First of all, our district was not able to receive 2 grants to start. Start one. So it's your welders, it's ventilation that goes with it. It's well test equipment. Also, Orofino's grant has that expansion addition of the shop to free up space in the classroom.
All right. Good.
So one more question. So the welders, are we moving towards a more modern technology in welding?
Well, we do, yes, and we still need a variety of welders.
Sure.
Well, we still use many cases of them. These welders are simply used.
Cool.
The booths are all standalone. Self-contained units that we develop.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Increase the service.
Yeah. Yep. Excellent.
I love it.
All right. All right.
Thank you.
Moving on to committee reports now. Safety committee report. Did everybody have a chance to read that? Questions, comments, concerns?
No, it looks like they're making great strides,
Oh, absolutely.
which, I mean, finally, that bus lane railing, I remember that was an issue when I first started. And we had the bollards and it just wasn't getting installed. So kudos to you guys for getting that done. Finally. I assume that's what that is.
Mhm.
Yeah, so.
Be interesting to see these studies that you got out there too on speed limits and signs and all that.
Yeah, what's the deal on people running through the bus?
I heard Sarah's thing on the radio the other day after you wrote it.
That's Sarah's mission in life, I think,
Good.
right now.
Yeah, I wish I knew what the deal was with people running stop arms, but it's been a epidemic this year. We've had
Yeah, that's
tons
good.
of them. We were turning 1 to 2 a day in for a period of a week.
Jeez.
One of them was two people, or one person twice. So we're down again on that, but hope there is legislation right now. Actually, Sheriff Getz is the one who wrote it all and put it in. Worked with the State Department of Education. Yeah, but if that passes, when we do a fine, anything over $100 of that fine goes into a school bus camera fund with the state. And this bill will allow the State Department of Education to not just use that to buy cameras, because we almost all have cameras. It'll allow us to do other type preventative safety things with that money. We could apply for it for pre-approval. So hopefully that will come up for us as far as transportation. And I have some ideas of hopefully what the state will approve for us to do, like extensions on our stop arms or something like
Oh,
that
yeah.
on the affected routes, and see if we can completely eliminate it. Because it's only 2 routes that have got all the violations
That's what I was just
and
gonna.
2 stops.
Could we
So
at the back tire, could we roll out those spike things? that
that'd be
would
cool.
flatten
Automatic
the
spike
tires?
throwers, right?
Stops.
Spike
Yeah.
throwers.
So which stops are they? Just out of pure
Um,
curiosity.
Hospital,
Mm.
Riverside at Cedar,
Mm,
and the old junior high.
Really?
Yeah, it is.
So that's right in town.
2 high traffic
Yeah,
areas.
very high.
Very high traffic areas.
Can Vince and his crews?
Oh, yeah, they do
They're
come
on it.
out. They come out and sit and watch.
A lot.
They are very good
They're-
at being
they're-
out patrolling.
They
all
are
that
definitely
can,
on,
yeah.
they're definitely on.
And it sounds like the cameras are working well for.
Yeah, our stop arm
plates.
cameras, I've actually seen people's expressions on their faces in those cameras. They're
Like
the newer ones. The older ones are tough, but the new ones, oh man.
Isn't Sarah doing a radio spot on that?
Yeah,
Yep.
That's all.
it sounds good too.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we've heard some studies. One of the things on some of these safe route to schools things, OPD, I think is behind some of those things with studying Riverside out here. They've actually got the traffic study done. They're waiting to hear back from the state. Hopefully this will be lowered. I think they're pushing for 25 all the way out.
Which it
Past
should.
the-
Past would be Schreiber right down here.
That actually came out of a grant with the Blue Cross Foundation. And we did some preliminary analysis of that corner and then
Yeah.
there was a grant. So that's not OPD, it's the city and the
City
Safe
is that
Routes
as
to
well.
Schools
Okay, yep.
program itself.
Yeah, so yeah, you don't worry about that. But yeah, Vince wasn't at this last one. He couldn't make it to update us on some of where they're at with that. I know they're trying to get some lighted signs on all
And
the
in
elementary
town,
stuff
yeah.
that will give you your speed to help slow people down in school zones, which
Those
is a
are
huge
big.
safety thing.
Yeah. Well, I know they've been kind of on a rant to try to get all of Michigan from clear up to DMV. That whole people go
Too bad.
way, way, way too fast on that. But anyway.
Anyway,
All right. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thanks.
Okay. Anything else on that one? If not, let's move on to policy. Woo-hoo. Come on down, Becca.
So, as you guys know, we had a big list that was first read last time and policy committee met on the 12th to go over it. So the policies that we went over, 3518, we're going to table for now. I want to have Casey have a chance to look at it as about the opioid overdoses training and really get a chance to make sure she feels comfortable with those training deadlines. So that one's going to table, but the rest, 3530, 3570, 3570P, 3570F, 4140, 4420 are all those initial second reads. Some of those, just to kind of give you context, we updated the suicide policy to make sure that had updated language to it and be in alignment with the parental rights legislation. the forms and the procedures are all updated on there. Same thing with student records. So overall, the policy committee was in consensus about all of these. The other one is the 5360. So we, in Harmony Committee, we were approached about the dress code policy for our staff. So I surveyed all of our certified and classified staff, and I had over 50 responses from the staff with feedback and updates. If you'd read the old one, it's antiquated at best. So we really just wanted to narrow the language, make it more in alignment. And we also got some feedback from what the hospitals was and just really said, okay, this is how we're going to define this. The policy committee, which included 4 teachers and Carmen, 100% approved it for second read to be put in place now to completely replace our old policy, which, like I said, was a little bit dated. And it really just speaks to business casual with administrator discretion based on job description responsibilities. So just because we know kindergarten teacher might be doing something a little different than my history teacher. So, yeah. But
It's a first or second read.
they were voting to put it up for a second so we could get into effect to update an out of date policy.
But it's really a first read.
Yes, first read for you, but we would vote to put it in place before.
Just the
second read.
5360.
Yes, and everything else is up for second read.
And
Okay.
what was the one that we're tabling one more time?
3518. I just want to get Casey's eyes on it one more time. And the good news is with today's policies, we will have gotten through all of the last round of updates from ISBA. They gave us 2 at the end that they just gave us not too long ago about student arrest and questioning that we'll look at for next month. But other than that, we are completely caught up with ISBA
Yes,
until
yes.
like in a month they give us the new ones. Usually we just
Legislative
make
session's
stuff.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get
yeah,
a whole
yeah,
handful.
that's gonna be.
Can you go through those numbers again so we make
Yep.
sure we have the right ones?
Yep,
Please.
absolutely.
Thank you.
So
right.
3518 is a table,
Mhm.
but then 3530, 3570, 3570P, 3570F, 4140, 4420, and 5360 are our proofs for tonight.
Okay.
And they're all on there on the policy tracker. I
Did you get
went
that
through
one?
and updated all of them on the tracker as well.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
All right,
Mm.
perfect.
So,
And 7402, right? Did I miss that? Or did I not hear it? I should say.
No, I don't have it on my list.
I have it on mine. Restrictions on contracts, 7402. January.
The January one, so those ones, yeah. Did I miss them? Usually I don't. I had a whole list.
I read it.
There you go. I'm glad.
She said 4510
Okay, so yeah, 45.
and 20.
So
Oh, I wrote.
we could make this a really easy when we do it is all of the ones that read
No, it's
for
40
January
it's
2nd read
4510.
besides 3518. Are up
With
for-
the exception of 35.
With the exception of 3518, they should all be on there, and I'll make sure that those are updated.
I kind of thought that's what I.
Good. Yeah, cool, great.
I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you. Okay, and 5360, we're gonna approve it, right? Is the dress code. Okay. All right. Perfection. All right, moving on to the calendar, the 2024-25 and the 25-26.
Skipped over the building reports, didn't you? Did we not do
Oh,
those?
shit, I did.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm losing my mind. Okay. Yeah, I went. Oh.
Okay.
It's okay.
Because we have, never mind. It was a phone thing. All right. Anyway, building reports. Anybody have any questions, comments?
well, Denise really rocked it this time, hon. I've been waiting for data and it was really great. I appreciate that. A question on one of them, I just need to remember. Looking at it from last night.
I agree with that. I love the data. And even Orofino High School will love the breakouts.
Yeah, it would be great. We talked about maybe getting consistency so that we are using the same format. I don't know if that's possible because of differences between elementary and secondary.
You had a chance to go through that.
Reporting different data, but we could probably come up with a format that's very similar, that's easy to read.
It looks like by looking at the disciplinary things, his cell phone is working. Yeah. I mean, it looks like significantly getting there from the.
Well,
looks
and
of
the
that.
percentage change on all of them, they're all different
Yeah.
reports, but I love that to show we are getting.
I do too.
Even from Ds and Fs to As, I mean, 6%, you know, and then every category we were up. I mean, it was maybe 1% or 2%, but that's pretty awesome.
Oh, that's what it was, is the math.
Yeah.
Math was our focus and the scores really showed that.
They
That's-
did.
that's what-
Yep.
Yeah.
Tired when I was reading through that stuff last night, but yeah, it was like awesome. Very cool.
All right.
That's another one.
Oh, all really good reports.
Yeah.
Very good. It's not bored reading them by any means.
I'm a visual guy.
Like the charts.
I do.
Yeah, I do too. I like the charts a lot. I mean, our attendance is looking good.
Yeah.
You must have, do you have the same repeat offenders?
Yeah, I think they'll all bob their heads with that. There's a very small percentage. It's a
Make
large
up a
portion
big
of the
chunk of it.
numbers. Yes.
Which I hate to say that's good, but that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, because at least we can pinpoint, you know, these are the guilty parties here versus it's a all over
Right.
problem. So that's a good thing, I guess. Kind of a weird way to look at it, I suppose, but yeah,
Thanks for shouting out to the athletes too.
yeah.
I know we always hire standard, but putting in that we had a state wrestler, some teams going to state, those are big things. State softball's at home this year, so we're hoping to
Oh,
be
is it
there.
this year? Oh, cool. All righty. Anything else?
Nope.
All right.
It was it.
Okay, moving on. Discussion items, the Timberline Rippleman easement. Not Dr. Garrett.
Yes. So that is all completed and it's still in court. So we have to have board approval and then I'll turn that into our attorney, which will get in front and it should be all done. Everything's been,
It's set for
Yep.
status.
So
So-
the only question I had, and it didn't show up on the map, is that little creek, that drainage that comes down. Are we on one side or the other, of that? Or are they gonna culvertize
that's
that?
all up to them.
I saw that everything was up to them. I just
Yep.
didn't know if anything had been discussed around that.
It had, and they were assuming all costs and all, whatever it takes to do that. So
That's on,
Yep. Yep.
yeah, that's on them.
that's 100% them. And that's what the agreement was. So that, once this is settled, that'll reflect that.
And then, okay, so we need to approve that one. So can I get a motion on?
No, we're not there yet. We're just in
Jesus,
discussion.
why do I?
You're
keep on-
hurrying
I-
through.
I
It's
keep on
wishful
going
thinking.
down. I know. What am I
You need to be
doing?
closer to her to kick.
I know. You need to hit me.
We're in the discussion.
I got it. Yes, I'm aware of that.
It's okay.
Jesus.
So
Okay.
Get it out. Yeah.
Okay, the Knowlton boundary line and that.
Yeah. So
An awesome guy. isn't
yeah,
he?
he is. So he did a great job. He was super easy to work with. So where that where our crow's nest, you know, his press box has been built, it was actually about a foot over on the neighboring property, which was Knowlton's. So we ended up going in and surveying around and putting the 6-foot setback, made an agreement with him. He signed the easement. It's all, we're doing a transfer or a boundary line adjustment. So that becomes our property. And it really, where it falls is right where the existing chain link fence is.
Oh.
So the corners were already established. It's already there. So that is the new property line. So that's all been taken care of.
So it's
Good.
totally an honest mistake then.
Yeah, I suppose. I don't know what else you'd say. Yeah. Yeah.
thanks to Dallas for
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
writing that over
Yep.
to us.
Yeah, because that could have got,
Madam Chair,
pardon?
some program reports we skipped over.
Oh,
Good work.
I just lumped that in if anybody had any questions on that. But does anybody have any questions on the superintendent report?
Yeah.
That's our program. The nurse one wouldn't come up. Did it come up for you?
She sent
No,
it separate.
No,
Oh, okay.
I got it in a separate
You
email.
did. I didn't get to see that
Yeah.
one, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Was there, that's the only one.
yeah, I sent a request to get access, but I didn't. see
On the
it.
nurse one, you say?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she sent it in I got it in a separate email.
Okay.
Did?
The
Yep,
rest,
I
did.
some, there was any,
I didn't get
I'm trying to think.
So anything on the superintendent and report?
No, just under the child nutrition, the 2,400 or $24,000 technology grant.
Oh,
That was pretty
that's-
And the
exciting.
debt load, what the heck?
Yep. and working heavy on the debt.
And if you want to see, look at that debt load, the best, I guess, way to look at it is look at, sorry. When you look at that, compare Orofino High School, because that'll really show you how your charging policy is affecting the debt. The other schools, you're not going to see a big impact because the elementaries are still eating and charging and we don't cut those off. But the high school, you can see it here at Orofino High School. Timberline never has had a problem with debt, so there's nothing to really compare with them. But you can see where we ended at the end of the year and where we are now.
Right.
And it is dropping, and we broke it down as for the end of last year actually did not have any seniors included because their debt's paid when they graduate. But this year, the numbers you're looking at does include those senior numbers. So if you take that out, and it really brings the numbers down. So we're not allowing to charge if they're over $14. So there's a few that gets denied, but very few. And that usually is a big encouragement for them to pay. So we are seeing some of those families who've had a debt for a year or two is actually catching up on that debt and getting it paid down.
Good on them.
So it's working.
So our decision not to let them charge and not to let them,
Yeah.
that decision we made is
It
paying
is
off.
working, but I do see parents who struggle will put money on the child who's at the high school and not put money on the child at the elementary.
Because they know he's going to be able to eat
Yeah.
versus what at the high school.
Yeah, so the money goes here as a priority.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
should be able to fill out a form, right?
The forms.
And maybe that would be something good too, like during the teacher conference, and we'll get to that when we talk about the calendar. And so a good time to get with some of these folks and get them to fill out those forms. Okay, all right.
So I guess I looked at this totally differently then, Carmen, because I was saying, holy crap, at the end of February, we have 4 times the debt that we had at the end of 22-23.
Let me open it.
So at the 22-23, at one school, there was $388.75
Yes, that
worth
is
of debt.
true at that site,
And now there's $1,400.
at that site, yes.
Okay, so that is
It's an
not
elementary building, so
Yes.
we do not deny them.
right.
And that building, those families are not very good at paying,
Okay,
so.
okay.
And I
And-
tried to break it down at the bottom. You can actually see it's only a handful of families in the district that's making up the majority of that debt.
Similar to the attendance.
Yes,
probably.
exactly.
Probably the same ones.
Well, no, because they wouldn't be getting so
They're
much
eating.
debt if they weren't
That's
in
true. They
school.
weren't there eating.
Yeah.
They just show up late and then eat.
That was some good
Probably.
reasoning there.
There's that.
Different ones.
Okay,
Can be taught.
But overall, policies we put in are working.
Yep.
okay, then I wasn't looking at it wrong then.
No.
Okay, cool. I'm like, well, I'm not seeing this is good.
All right. Let's move on. Negotiation for FY 25, the contract negotiations. We would like to open that for salaries and benefits only, because what has happened is we end up deciding things that should be policies in contract negotiation and is not transparent. And we have 1 or 2 board members and some others making policy. And we need to not do that. So we are legally cleared to do salaries and benefits. And so that's kind of what we should be looking at doing. Because a lot of the things that we were negotiating in contracts too, what?
So we've been doing this the same way for a long time.
Right.
So what's the statute change?
No.
Or
No,
it's just getting an alignment.
it's just getting alignment with that.
So who was going to be on negotiations?
Well, let me get through the rest of
Okay,
this
sorry.
first. So, what ended up happening was we were negotiating things that should be covered under a policy versus a contract. And in essence, what ended up happening, we were making policy and contract negotiations. And it was affecting not only our certified staff, it was also affecting our classified staff. And we need to clean it up. And so this is how the proposal is to do it, which it makes sense. So discussion. Go ahead. You had more?
I was just wondering what the statute was so that we could look at it and see.
I didn't print it out. Do you happen to have that printed out, Mike?
It is
And-
linked to it, I
And what
believe.
it is?
Yeah,
Uh,
Dr. Garrett ran it by our attorney
Yeah. In the,
already, and there might be some blowback on it. There probably is going to be some blowback on it from the association, but we've got to start somewhere to clean this up or it's going to be an excruciating process. And it just gets so convoluted with everything. It's painful. It is absolutely painful. And so I think this will clean it up and make things fair for everybody.
And is this a yearly thing? This is
Yes,
year,
every
no
single
matter
year.
what?
Yep. Every single year and we get into things like everything from mileage to professional development to you name it in it, and they want it included in the contract. Well, the problem is, it doesn't necessarily affect just the certified staff that we're putting it in the contract for. It also affects the classified staff and everybody. So anyway.
which is why I think having the statute, it would be good to reference.
Right.
Yeah.
I sent it to you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you,
So anyway,
you
so
have it.
discussion,
I've sent it several times.
what do you all
Oh,
think?
So sorry.
Luckily, we weren't part, like I said, it was a small group, so most of us weren't really part of it.
No,
Just-
and it doesn't make any sense that we were deciding through the process of the contract negotiation, things that affected everybody. And 2 years in a row now, I've went, wait a minute, time out. We probably shouldn't be looking at some of this stuff. I mean, there's been discussion about coaches' salaries. There's been which,
That should all be out in front. of
yeah,
everybody.
it needs to be transparent and we need to have it in policy, not decided with contracts. So first step in this and the major step in it is we're going to limit it to salary and benefits.
And are we gonna use our outside facilitator again?
We won't need to. There will be no need for that at all.
So keep in mind, any of the benefits such as, contract days, those type of things are all part of that.
Mhm.
So, hours worked, all that. So, I mean, that's all things that are negotiable. What we're looking at are some of the other things that, so we can focus on what we need to focus on instead of getting off track on some of those.
Yeah, because there were some of those things, it would take us weeks, literally weeks to go through it and get everybody into agreement on it.
And are you
I'll
planning
send
to,
that to you.
excuse yourself from those conversations? Cause it went smoother without you last year?
I was in it last year.
No, you were out because we had that.
You're a year behind. I was in.
Yeah, it was you, Greg, and.
Mhm.
We had that facilitator.
We did.
We did,
But I
but
was
he
in.
facilitated.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't facilitate. I'm a member of the committee. Yeah.
Yeah, and I see no reason to hire him to do that this year at all. Because it would really go into the weeds quick. It deteriorated fast sometimes.
Dr. Garrett, did you send that statute to all of us?
Yes,
And
I
that's
did.
conversations would start to go, it would go downhill quickly, and then that's what we had him for, was to get us back
That's
on
what I
track.
thought,
Yeah,
But if we keep it focused on salary and benefits, you're saying,
I don't think there's no need to.
And when does that start? That
Well,
process?
either party can can initiate. So once it's on as an action item, if you guys so choose, we can initiate and we'll send a letter and get that started. So really like anything else, the salary portion of that is not until we hear from the legislators. We really don't know.
Not gonna have any
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
There's-
Both that and the benefit.
They're supposed to hear so from the legislative standpoint, they're supposed to hear the supplemental, I'm using air quotes, on March 15th. And they're supposed to go ahead and set the budget for the K-12. I don't know if that'll happen.
Last
That's their
year,
prediction.
It was late last year.
Yeah.
It was like almost the end of April last
So,
year.
so back up just a little bit on legislation on that. What they've done is generally put the K-12 budget at the very beginning and they start piecing it together. So they do a preliminary and then they go back and they kind of piece it together and then they come up with a final. What they've done this year is they said, no, we're not even going to discuss education until March 15th. And the reason is it's such a big ticket item that they're wanting to make sure they're funding everything else first. And I think they're probably getting heat from, it's because it's a big ticket item. And so they're wanting to say, hey, we've done X and we've done Y, now we can do education. I believe that's their intent. So.
And I want to make it clear too, that we're not trying to short anybody. We're not trying to do anything underhanded with this. It's just that if it's set in policy, it does virtually the same thing. We should follow our policies. If we have the policy set that says,
This many working days.
yeah, we're working, we're going to do this with PD and this, whatever. We're going to do that, then that's what we should be doing. And that's what we need to be doing. And that is in fact for everybody. So it's all inclusive. It doesn't just have because honestly, if I was a classified employee, I'd be going, well, wait a minute, what say did I have in this? And whereas on policy committee, you got everybody from all the different avenues, it just seems more fair to do it that way. Rather than just saying, okay, we decided for you, this is how it's gonna be.
I mean, policy shouldn't be negotiated.
No.
It's not.
No, it shouldn't be.
Appropriate.
Yeah.
It's policy driven.
Yeah. And it
Should
should,
be voted on
yeah.
and enforced.
Yeah, and then and the board has the final say on the policies as well, whereas, it just wasn't very transparent and it just evolved into that, I think, over a number of years, and it just we hit a wall with it, so. Anyway, so that's.
So just for reference, Idaho code, it's 33-1271. Yeah. And then the definitions are 33-1272, and then our district policy is 5295. And it has a reference of those Idaho code in there. So I believe I sent that
You
to
did.
you as
Yeah,
well.
I
Yeah.
saw it.
So, yeah, you should be able to click on those links and thank you. See them. Yep.
You can't, don't have access here, but.
Okay.
So
Okay.
our policy is in alignment with this?
Yes.
Okay. So we
Yeah,
weren't following our own policy.
Our policy, yes.
Okay.
Our policy is in alignment, but and it says you can take things outside of that as well, but that's the requirement is salaries and benefits. So.
Yeah, it's just cleaning it up.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, anything else in negotiations?
We'll do action item on it
Yep.
down below.
Yes, I'm in the right
Yeah,
spot.
okay,
at the
good.
moment, yeah. Surplus.
Yeah, so we have some items. Roy brought those to me, and generally we would wait and do everything at once, but I think the way it's kind of happening between our department heads, it's working out pretty well to bring these to you guys. So we have some better ideas. So those are just some equipment that is worn out, non-operational. So.
Tell me again how you spread the word for people to buy that stuff. How does that work?
So we do them differently. Depends on what it is. We've been utilizing Derek a little bit on the government surplus for some of those things. And we've advertised locally as well.
Okay.
So.
The not
we-
running thing, non-operational thing kind of made me go,
As is.
Well,
We'll just
as
list it
is.
as.
Another one.
yeah, that's
The
fact.
trailers had got me some interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that trailer didn't sound too bad.
Yep. So as far as determining prices, we were going to work on that and try to get those prices, what would be fair market value, and then try to move from there.
Oh,
So,
it has one wheel, but if you,
It didn't say that.
I'm just kidding. Okay,
Is there surplus process rules somewhere?
that you guys have to approve them. That's it.
Okay.
I mean, that's really it. And then we can determine the, fair market value. There's some other little nuance, but that's the major part of it.
It was just those 3 items, right?
Yes.
wasn't much.
Yep.
Okay, safety grant.
So the safety grants, there's what they're calling the phase 2 safety grant. The phase 1 was what we did a lot of our cameras and access controls. So we ended up with about 120,000, or was it 160? 160 is what we did all of that work with. We came up a little bit short. So there was more money from the state. They came up with this, what they call the phase 2 grant, and it's much more detailed. The grants are pretty extensive. So we're looking, what we have to do is we have to have board approval for those projects. And I listed those projects for you guys, so you kind of had an idea. We were looking primarily at the Timberline School for the cameras, exterior and interior. That was number 1. We decided priority. And then from there, we were looking at Orofino Junior Senior High School, the door that goes from the outside toward the shop. It's on the main door in the foyer there, and putting access controllers, already cabling there. I think the third one was the door replacements at OES gym, which is one of them access control because that back door gets used a lot. And then from there, I'm not sure how we'll, there's cameras at Cavendish was the other on the backside. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. And then radios, we're looking at that if they're doable or not. That was part of that safety committee meeting. We were talking about radios having access if all the power goes down, all those different things. And I just spoke with Derek today. He's going to get a quote on that I can pull together. And we were looking at 7 portable radios, basically one in every building that's emergency access, really kind of only. They would have the capability of communicating through the bus garage and to buses, but we didn't want to have that as a primary use for it. So we're just going to have them more as an emergency. If things go down, we have that access. So goes off a repeater that's on, Bald Mountain, that's shared basically in the same location as the sheriff's department, right? So they've been really good to work with us on that. And so that we'll see if that goes through, but all those are a little bit less significant. You can do a grant up to, what was it? Can't remember the amount now. 42, was it 200,000 per project? So we're looking at smaller projects. There's going to be a lot more competition in these, and there's a lot more details to it. So we're trying to finish up. And one of the things they talked about is closing the loop on a lot of our holes. So we don't have the door in the back of, Orofino Junior Senior High School going to the shop. It's not access control. It's pretty vulnerable. Everything else is locked up and go. So trying to close those loops, so to speak. So that's what we're looking at. So anyway, we'll just need, when we get there, a motion to approve pursuing those projects. So I have that on record to send. It's one of the requirements.
Are there any compliance or reporting things we need to be aware of?
So everything move up to obviously report to them what we're utilizing it for, but after that, we haven't seen anything that we're required to do.
All right. Policy, I think, do we have anything, anybody else have anything more on policies?
No.
Okay, calendar. Now I'm at calendar. My God. Okay. So
the calendar, I can get through some of this. So the calendar committee, we met twice. There was quite a bit of discussion about start dates, stop dates. It really came down to a couple things. One was, when is Christmas break, and shifting your calendar accordingly. In addition to that, there was also the semester piece for when the semester ends, and then the other piece of that was the parent-teacher conferences. So between those aspects, what the committee landed on was trying to, or the calendars that we proposed, was not changing our start dates. We're adjusting the calendar according to the holidays, but basically ending the first semester at right before break. So what we currently have is about 2 weeks after. There was lots of discussion about the unequalness of those days in those semesters. We have minimal classes that are semester classes in secondary, so it's not affecting a huge amount of classes. The other part of that that was brought up is we do our state testing in the springtime, so we're losing some days there in all of our schools. And also there's a lot more field trips and that type of thing happening towards that end. So there's, the equality of it may not be exact, but it's going to be fairly close. And then the other portion was the parent-teacher conference. With those parent-teacher conferences, the way we're currently doing them, for example, Thursday, elementary students do not come to school. 7 through 12 kids do, secondary kids do. So those students are in school. The point of that is the elementary teachers have a chance, have a full day basically to contact parents and make those appointments and really get down to the nuts and bolts and have really good success with that, really high success rates, like nearing 100% almost every time. So that's been a successful piece. So we talked about that. Would that be effective at the high school level? And the consensus was we'd like to give that a shot. So it takes 2 instructional days away from students, from secondary students, but it gives those teachers a chance to really make sure they have contact. So to put that in context a little bit, some of our secondary teachers see, close to 100 kids a day versus, an elementary teacher having a class of 25 or whatever it might be. So one of the stipulations I'd like to put on that is they need to make some sort of hard contact with parents of students who have D's or F's. So they're making sure they're really contacting those, and then leave an open time for others to walk in like what we've done before. So I think there's a good balance there. We'll try that. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we may need to adjust again. So
Well, one thing that I've heard from other schools, small schools, is one of the hardest things is to get people in, to get the parents to actually come up here for the conferences. And one idea that was pretty successful I have a school, friend that's a principal at an alternative school over in Oregon. And he said they offered a meal midday. They did a lunch. And they got people in. There's also, you could do at the same time, you can do like a resource fair thing too, where you've got people from whatever you can think of there. You know, Carmen's got reduced lunch applications. You got somebody for health and welfare is talking about whatever. I mean, your imagination can be the guide for that. But, you know, maybe trying something like that on the day up here where they have conferences might be worth a try. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But
We spoke of that last
Mhm.
year, and I think the challenge was who has the time to pull that off, you know, who are all the resource people. That was one of our action items. And I think you said the resources were limited. So
but they are depending on what you want. I mean, you could have somebody from health and welfare. You can have representatives from banks. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, community and agency wise. I mean, just whatever, just have people, something to get them in there and keep their interest. So
I can't remember, I know we spoke of it, and I can't remember whether there was who's gonna do the work, was, you know, who's gonna pull that off to make that happen, I think was the question. I don't remember if we had an answer.
yeah.
Well, and I think with a change in this, I mean, there'll have to be a concerted effort to make that work for the secondary level, especially. So that's going to be a challenge. So we also have the evenings as well. So there'll be one evening, and different schools did that differently. So I believe Timberline did all day and then that evening, right? Correct. And Orofino did the evening before and then all day. So that's neither here nor there. They still have an evening opportunity and a day opportunity. And we'll do that same thing at the high school level, kind of leave that up to the schools. Whatever works for them is fine. So
I just think sometimes we have to think out of the box.
yeah.
Sure, yeah. And the 2 less days is a non-issue because
So there was a lot of discussion about our attendance, and we didn't see the attendance drop dramatically, but we did see a lower attendance on those days than our average. There was a lot of discussion about the secondary students having to watch elementary kids because they didn't have school that day. So there were some family concerns there that was taking away from a lot of that anyway. The other piece of that, like we said, was trying to balance out those semesters. You know, having the kids here less is having the kids here less. So I'm not going to argue with that. It's probably not.
But we're still over
Great.
145 by
Yeah.
quite a bit because we
We're-
were going
We were doing
lower
140,
than we. quite a bit more than we-
148.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's why we're okay there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we have enough. So what we'll have to really watch, and we talked about this too, is if we get into a really severe winter, we had about I think at Orofino High School, we had, what was it, 4.9 days or 4.7 days. And at Timberline, we had like 5.3. And the reason there was a difference in that is because we had to change the way the bell schedule worked to get the buses to work between the elementary and the high school by just a couple minutes, which changes it a whole bunch over time. So we have those kind of built in, so to speak, for emergency closure days, whether it be electricity out, whether it be, you know, whatever it might be. So that's going to cut that down by a couple of days at the high school level. So we'll have to be cognizant of that, making sure. So there may be a possibility of having to make up a day somewhere or two, you know, depends on that, how far we go with that. But that's something we can manage, and we can make those changes as we go through the year.
Cross the bridge when we
Yeah.
come to it.
And it makes sense to you guys?
I like the semester ending Christmas break. I don't know how you can get them to come back from Christmas break and then take tests and try to do it.
Yeah.
There was a whole lot of conversation about from the secondary teachers that were on there and who had emailed me saying that 2 weeks after the semester was spent a lot of time reviewing what they'd already done.
Right.
So losing 2 days might not equal that
Probably.
8 days of that. That was a discussion, and it's probably a valid point. You know, 2 weeks gone, it's hard to get their head back in the game, and then
A certain amount of
Fine.
learning loss there
Yeah.
too, just because.
we don't know, but that's just the way it stands. So the other piece of that is when we go through this, We have three different types of days that are work days for contracted employees, district days, professional or staff development days. I think they're on there as SD, and then work days. I'd like to see the board, because of our PLC work, change those all to just contracted days and allow the administrators to dictate what we do. We're not looking at taking all the time. We're just looking to be productive. There's a big push in the state right now. They've even created their own department with professional learning communities. So PLC is the hot topic, and it's going that direction. We're actually applied for was it $40,000 grant to, and I'm talking to them at the state last week. It sounds like we're going to get that, which will send administrators to a PLC conference to allow us to be able to lead teachers in the better direction on that. So there's a lot of money floating around out there. They've started their own department. But for us, like this year, we've only done PLCs, I think we're going to end up 6 times during the year. Is that right? 6. And really, we'd like to do that once a month or even more. So when we have that, if we can do them a couple hours at a time and rearrange that. So we're restricted whenever we're defining the days, but the board has the ability to go ahead and make that a day that we can dictate. Now, we're not trying to take all that work time away from teachers. We understand, before quarter, those type of things for grades, those type of things, that's important. But we'd like to be able to push more towards the PLC and have a little bit more control over that. So
I guess I don't understand why work days and staff development days weren't contract days.
they are contract days,
Okay.
but they were defined differently in the agreement.
Oh, they're defined differently.
Mhm.
So it's just a definition.
Yeah.
It is.
So currently the work day, all those days are 6.5-hour days, which I wouldn't change on that. But the way the work day, there's protected time and versus a professional development day. So like a work day, I believe we've got in there, what's it say, that there can only be, there's certain time that's protected for teachers to work in their rooms, basically, or work on their own. Yeah, and then you could have, I think afternoon, there could be
not
staff
defined
meetings and all that.
policy.
It's defined in the negotiated agreement, not policy.
So it will be defined in policy.
We can definitely define that in policy how we want. You all can.
That's what you're asking for,
Mhm.
transparency, right?
Yes.
It's those items.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, because when you're talking PLC days, it isn't just certified staff.
Yeah. So we're looking at those days so we can incorporate our PLC time, and what it would typically look like would be kind of like what we're doing some of our work days, like our next work day or last work day, which was last Friday, right? So teachers worked on PLCs from 9 to 11. We allowed them to Zoom. They could do, they could work together in their groups all over the district, but they could do it electronically for a couple hours. And then the rest of the time they either had staff meetings or they're allowed them to work on their own to get caught up on whatever it might be, planning time. So that's what we'd like to do, is be able to have the chunk of that time each week to be able to dictate. And it may not be every time. There'll be some, like the end of first quarter is a pretty big one, I think, isn't it? Or second quarter. Yeah, first quarter, whenever they have conferences, to be prepared for that and make sure all grades are in and all that. So there's some times in there that would be pretty protected. So we'd want to honor that.
Okay, any more questions on the calendar?
Nope. Sorry, that was a lot of explanation there.
That was a lot. That's
Yeah, sorry. I'm
Okay.
trying to lose you guys.
too late.
Yeah, I know.
All right, parents, student, staff surveys.
I'll be real quick with this. So annually, we have to do that. We're required by law to survey our staff, students, and community. And Cognia, which is an organization that accredits us, would always provide those. The state contracted with them. The state stopped contracting with them to do surveys. So I contacted Cognia, and since we're members and accredited through them, they just reproduce those. We'll be sending those out the 1st of March, and we'll have them open for 3 weeks. So,
So this is gonna be really bad
Yeah.
if you say I've seen them. Have I seen them?
yes,
Yeah,
Survey?
you've
Yes.
seen them?
Last year.
yes.
Yep. Was last year the first year we saw them?
I share them every year.
Yeah.
So that information we use a lot in leadership to really kind of drill down on how, because it asks about
That's what we
security
should
of,
do for
yeah,
this.
yeah. It asks about security of school. It asks the safety of kids. It asks, all those different things. So we utilize that information to help develop plans as well. Okay, done with that.
Okay. All right, policy updates, we've already
We already
done.
went through that.
Law conferences, going to law conference.
April 22nd, 3rd.
Montana.
I'm going.
Well, we'll see if I get a third here or not.
So Christine, you said yes.
Yeah, I
Okay.
already made my reservation.
Oh, yeah, I think, yeah.
What day was it? 22nd,
Yeah,
3rd?
it's Monday,
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Yep. You don't know.
I can't.
Yeah.
Where's it at? Boise,
Boise. Yeah.
stay at the Grove.
You can think about it and let me know if you, Teresa, there's no pressure. It's a lot to answer. Welcome. Let's go. Yeah.
You're going, you're
Yeah,
going.
that's right. It's all good. Just let me know if you guys, whenever you know.
All right. Can I get a motion for executive? If we're still voting into
Yes.
executive? Yes, we are. Okay.
Make a motion that pursuant to Idaho Code 74-206, 1A and B. Go into executive session.
Second that.
Madam Clerk, can I get a roll call? Here, you moved.
Trustee Saint Germain,
Yes.
trustee Daniel,
Yes.
trustee Craig,
Here.
trustee Chapter.
Yes. All right.
Yeah, I do too.
We leave and
Yeah.
see it Pierce.
Yep.
they leave. All right, we are back from executive. Moving on to our action items. First one is the Timberline Rippleman easement. Can I get a motion?
I'll move to approve the Timberline Rippleman easement as presented.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, the Timberline Knowlton Boundary Line Agreement.
I'll move we accept that one too.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Thank you.
All in favor?
Yeah, thanks to whatever his
Yeah.
name was.
Yeah.
Milton
Aye.
family.
Knowlton
Bill
family.
family.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Next, the initiation of the negotiations. Can I get a motion?
Make a motion that we initiate the negotiations for fiscal year 2025 based on salary and benefits. Only.
Do we want to reference the statute?
33, I can reference the statute. Well, my.
We gotta
amending
get
the
a second.
The motion.
Yeah.
So, okay. Initiate the negotiations for fiscal year 25 to negotiate wages and benefits only per statute 3312-71.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Chris.
Jermaine.
Getting tired too, huh?
We got Sarm and all.
Yeah.
Brutal,
We
it's all
haven't
messed
covered
up.
this late in a long time.
Okay. 4 surplus items. Can I get a motion?
Make a motion that we accept the surplus items as presented.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
I like your new term.
Yeah.
Phrase.
Safety grant. Can I get a motion?
What was the action?
On what?
What was the action on the safety grant?
Oh,
sorry.
That's okay. So.
Yeah, where's my note?
I know. I was just-
Okay, so we want the motion to read this.
Yep.
Okay,
Cameras at 10
so I'll move that we apply for the safety grant for cameras inside and outside at Timberline School, the shop door and access controls at Orofino Junior Senior High School, gym doors and access control at Orofino Elementary, cameras at Cavendish, and for radios across the district.
Perfect.
I'll second.
Well done.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Policy. Some brave soul give me a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the policy reviews as presented with the exception of policy 3518 that will be tabled to a later date.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion?
I do.
Okay.
So on the teacher dress, the staff dress code, we talk about, it's vague, and I know that we've kind of wrapped up vagaries in other policies, and so, what is modest? I'm just a little uncomfortable with the lack of clarity.
On the policy itself.
Yeah, because you mentioned, standard business attire, but it's not in here. It just says modest, and there's another word in here that.
Yes, we did the Oxford definition of business casual, and we actually had, like I said, the teachers and classified staff review that. And I think the biggest piece in here was that administrator discretion to define some of that. And that's kind of what the policy was written and agreed upon by members of the Harmony Committee and other teachers too, just that there has to be a little bit of ambiguity within some of this due to the varying job descriptions we have.
Right.
So like a gym teacher, science teacher, kindergarten teacher, so defining it overly, that was one of the biggest complaints of the last policy, is that it was overly defined.
Oh.
That it got too caught in the weeds. And so again, we looked at the clinics and some of those things, and a lot of them just speak to business, casual, professional, at, workplace as defined by your building administrator. So there was good consensus on that for context. Like I said, over 50 respondents on the survey from different staff, and then lots of varying members on that committee. So
Okay, well, I mean, things have certainly changed and definitely with the new remote work. But I just, yeah, if we're comfortable as a group.
I think having the administrator makes me feel a lot better. You guys make the decision on us. Have we had issues, I guess?
I think the biggest issues we've had is that there may be differing perceptions based on administrator. That flexibility wasn't built in. It was more like, okay, this policy says this, but then, looking at this job description, that doesn't work.
Right.
So I think that was what the yearning from even the staff was, is that to give that control back into our localized buildings, because then we as the administrator in our building could say, hey, like, we know this is what's happening today. Yeah, feel free to wear that, do this, kind of a thing. But I had a couple quick conversations with my staff about it, and I'm like, you guys know what my expectations are. And they're like, yep, we're pretty clear on it. So.
Jason's not gonna wear flip flops to school.
He's not gonna wear a short skirt and.
A romper. That's pretty good.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we're comfortable
Oh,
with the
this is
vagary.
Deteriorating quickly.
It is, it's after 9.
I know.
No, those are good points though, because.
Okay, all right, so
Thank you.
policy second discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
motion carries. Calendar,
I'll move we accept the calendars as recommended.
I'll second that.
any discussion? Oh, with the years,
As presented. We need more.
Yeah, I didn't have those on the one that was on this listed.
Oh,
Okay,
So it need to be said.
do we want to amend?
Yeah, we
yeah,
better.
okay, so. What are the dates?
This was, yeah.
The PT,
The PCL,
PCLs.
PLCs.
PLCs, yeah.
Okay.
These are the PLC.
Okay, I move we accept the calendar for 2 years as presented. With the approved district days, work days, and staff development days combined into certified contract days. And that's a policy thing too.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
motion carries. Certified administrative contracts, can I get a motion, please?
Yeah, so we move to approve the administrative contracts through 2026, except the 2 proposed contracts that are established through 2025.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. All right, next, new hires and separation, motion, please.
Make a motion that we accept the new hires and separations as presented.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
So I personally know one of the new hires, but I was not asked to be a reference of any kind. So I think I'm okay.
Yep.
I do know one person well.
Fair enough.
It's hard not to do around here. Anyway, so.
Just to
You
be
can-
open.
Yep.
You can let us know who it is, for the record.
Joel Harrison, he's a
Okay.
fellow ski patroller
You put that
Okay.
on there,
and on the
Carmen.
board at the ski club.
Perfect. I think transparent.
For sure. That's
Yeah.
why I wanted to bring it up.
All in favor?
Where are we at? To be a second, we got
Motion
a
and- or second.
second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. All right, anything for next meeting?
We're gonna
That's
do
fine.
the strategy.
Next meeting for work session, or we
Work
do that
session.
No, the next work section is
is
in
April.
Whoa.
It's gonna be on your anniversary.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have to have Sam go to Cap or Kendrick and wait for you. Cause we're gonna be in Cavendish, so that's about as close as you're gonna get for a restaurant, maybe.
It'd be bad.
Well, we got. So that'd be March meeting. We're not gonna do work session in
Yeah,
March,
March,
so I
normal.
guess we're good.
And that's what's for
Probably.
April. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
Well, wait,
What?
real
Oh,
quick.
you-
We have this calendar and I should have it in my head by now, but is it in March? Should we be doing something?
No,
Click on.
Ah,
We didn't
right on.
have,
we were good if we went.
Should have listed everything.
Yep.
See,
Yep.
smarter every day.
Yep. Was
there? March.
All information's there.
So March, we were good.
Um,
In
we're gonna
April,
be at PEC.
we're gonna, March, we're at
Which is
PAC.
good.
So just regular business.
Regular business at PAC.
is the next
So
one?
should
March is the
we,
pack?
I mean, while we're
March is the
there,
PEC.
should we review the,
April was.
the
Building.
facility risk issues, the insurance report?
You definitely could.
Definitely could while we're
Be
there.
nice to
Yeah.
walk around the
While we're
building.
there. We've
Yeah.
got it.
Do a,
I put
Yeah.
them all on my calendar, so.
okay. Anything else?
PAC and then Cavendish.
Anything else? Okay, motion for adjournment.
I'll make a
Move
motion.
adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Right on. Thank you for your patience and stay.
You guys take turns saying aye, or you just?
Usually.
Hold out there.
Okay.